This is the story of Esther, a humble Jewish girl who rose to become a queen and risked her life and position to save her people from annihilation. It's a story of courage, divine providence, and how one person, guided by faith, can change the course of history. The setting is the Persian Empire, nearly 2,500 years ago. King Xerxes, the powerful ruler, had a vast kingdom stretching from India to Ethiopia. After a falling out with his former queen, Vashti, Xerxes sought a new queen to take the throne. Across the empire, young women were brought to the palace for consideration, and among them was Esther, an orphan raised by her wise and caring cousin, Mordecai. Esther was taken to the royal palace alongside many others, and her beauty, humility, and grace quickly set her apart. Although she was Jewish, Mordecai warned her to keep her identity a secret. In turn, Esther obeyed Mordecai's advice, for she trusted his wisdom. Mordecai, meanwhile, was a watchman at the king's gate. One day, he overheard two palace guards plotting to kill King Xerxes. Mordecai relayed this information to Esther, who passed it on to the king, giving Mordecai credit for uncovering the plot. His loyalty was recorded in the royal chronicles, but not immediately rewarded. The plot thickened when Haman, an ambitious and arrogant noble in the king's court, was elevated above all other officials. Haman demanded that everyone bow to him, but Mordecai, a devout Jew who bowed only to God, refused. Haman's pride turned to wrath, and upon learning Mordecai's heritage, Haman decided to destroy not just Mordecai, but all the Jews in the Persian Empire. Haman devised an evil plan and persuaded King Xerxes to issue a royal decree for the extermination of the Jewish people. The date was set by casting lots, or Purim, giving the Jews little time to prepare. The edict spread fear and despair among the Jewish people, but Mordecai refused to despair. Instead, he turned to Esther, urging her to appeal to the king on behalf of her people. "Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape," Mordecai told her. "For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Esther was conflicted. Entering the king's presence uninvited could mean death, yet remaining silent would seal the fate of her people. After prayer and preparation, she resolved to take the risk. "I will go to the king, even though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish." Dressed in her royal finest, Esther approached the king. To her relief, Xerxes extended his golden scepter, sparing her life and granting her the opportunity to speak. Instead of making her request immediately, Esther invited the king and Haman to a banquet. Knowing she needed to handle the situation delicately, Esther hosted a second banquet the following day. It was there she revealed her true identity and exposed Haman's evil plot. "If I have found favor with you, your majesty," Esther pleaded, "and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition. And spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated." King Xerxes, furious, demanded to know who was behind the plot. Esther bravely named Haman, and the tyrant was taken away. Justice was served when Haman was executed on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. But the edict to destroy the Jews could not simply be undone. In its place, King Xerxes issued a new decree, allowing the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. On the day that had been marked for their destruction, the Jewish people triumphed, ensuring their survival. This victory is remembered every year during the Jewish festival of Purim. The story of Esther reminds us of the power of faith, courage, and divine intervention. Esther's bravery and Mordecai's wisdom turned despair into triumph, demonstrating how God can use ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. Even in moments when God's name isn't mentioned, His work in and through their lives is undeniable. So what can we learn from Esther's story? Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's trusting God despite fear. Sometimes we are placed in specific situations and seasons for such a time as this. We may feel ill-equipped or unworthy, but the truth is, God equips those He chooses, just as He equipped Esther. Are there moments in your life where you've doubted your purpose? Perhaps your time hasn't come yet, or perhaps you're already on the brink of stepping into your purpose. Trust that when God calls you, He also empowers you to fulfill that calling. Esther's story encourages us to be bold, to stand up for what is right, and to believe that even in uncertainty, God is guiding us. So the next time you feel small or insignificant, remember the story of Esther. Remember that faith and courage can change the world.